Boom, it's a record. Bye! Hit record, bye!
Thank you!
You're welcome.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're gonna do a little bit of a chit-chat video, and I don't know if you can see her nose right there. That's Penny hanging out on the couch. Today, I would like to talk about something that I think is an interesting topic, something that comes up in my life a lot, something that I think is probably way more common than we think it is. I want to talk about what it's like being a third culture kid. I don't even know if I like that category, or I like that saying, or I like what I'm trying to say. I just want to open up the conversation and see what you guys have to say about it. So, the title of my video is You Called Me What? Different moments in my life, I've actually encountered different people trying to categorize me in a box. Usually it goes along the lines with, wow, your accent in English is so good. And then I go, thanks, so is yours, dummy. I'm not that mean. I usually go, thanks, so is yours. And then they go, where are you from? And then I go, I'm from here. And they're like, but you speak perfect English. And I'm like, well, yes, because I'm an American. And they're like, but you just finished saying you were from here. And then they get confused. And the same thing happens the other way around in Spanish. Sometimes my conversations go a little bit like, hey, you have an accent. And I go, really? That's weird, because I don't hear an accent. And people around me go, nope, she doesn't have an accent. And then they go, hey, you look awfully white. Where are you from? And then I go, huh, that was kind of racist. I'm from here. And then they're confused. And then I say something like, Calle, and then it all seems to be better when I start swearing in Spanish. So, just a little bit of background on myself and why I think this topic is so important and why I'm actually talking about it on my channel. I actually sat down one day and realized that I have some videos in Spanish and some videos in English. And I tried to figure out if I should have my channel be in Spanish or in English and who my market was. My market, I've decided, is people like moi. People who are bicultural, bilingual, just have a little bit of mesh of everything. I didn't want to have to categorize my channel in one language. I think I haven't even made the decision yet on whether to have videos in Spanish and in English, or have two separate channels, one in Spanish and one in English, excuse me, and what that actually means. I've been called by Mexicans and Americans and people from all over the place different names, or try to be put in a category that I don't even think I belong in, and I don't even think people should be categorizing people. But I think people like to put people in boxes and figure out where they're from in order to know how to talk and react and treat them, I guess. And if they're in the club or out of the club, I don't know. It's both pros and cons, and it's bad and good. So, I took a couple notes in my phone that I wanted to talk about because I've been called things like a pocha, a chicana, a gringa, among other million different things. So, I want to read to you what Wikipedia and the Urban Dictionary claims to be what pocha is, and why I do not relate to being a pocha. A pocha is a term used by native-born Mexicans to describe Chicanos, or those who have left Mexico. Typically, pochos speak English and lack fluency in Spanish. Among some pochos, the term has been embraced to express pride in having both Mexican and American heritage, asserting their place in the diverse American culture. The word derives from a Spanish word pocho, used to describe a fruit that has become rotten or discolored. So, in my opinion, first of all, I'm not a Mexican who left Mexico. I'm also not someone who speaks English and I lack fluency in Mexico. I'm actually perfectly fluent in Spanish. So automatically when people try to be like, oh, you're a pocha, I'm like, well, first of all, I'm standing in Mexico, so I don't know what even that means. And second of all, te puedo hablar perfectamente en español y no sé qué estás tratando de decir. So, let's just start there. I've also been called a Chicana because then people are like, oh, if you're not pocha, then you're obviously a Chicana. So, Urban Dictionary and Wikipedia says, is a chosen identity of some Mexican Americans in the U.S. The term Chicano is sometimes used interchangeably with Mexican and Americans. Both are chosen identities within Mexican American community in the United States. A person of descendants of Mexican, but not born in Mexico, but in the USA. Chicano is not people for Latin America, but only people with Mexican descent who are born in the US. So again, I don't qualify because I do have Mexican descent, but I also have American descent. I'm also not currently living in the US, and I'm not a Mexican in the US because I'm American. So just to give you a little bit of background, my mom is American, my dad is Mexican, I have dual citizenship, both in the US and in Mexico. My schooling was both in Spanish and English. I homeschooled myself in the American high school system. I did Mexican high school as well. I did credentials in the US, and then I went to college in Mexico as ditto in Prague, Czech Republic, so neither here nor there. I did visit the US frequently. I also went to camp in the US. My sister lives in the US, my grandparents live in the US. And then my dad, who's Mexican, he's originally from Michoacan, and both my parents have been here in San Miguel de Allende for over 40 years. And I have Mexican grandparents, I have cousins, and I go to Michoacan. I live currently in Mexico. I was raised in Mexico. And in my household, we spoke primarily English, while everyone else around me spoke Spanish. I had Mexican friends and American friends. And then I had a weird category of friends who either had American parents but were Mexican, like born and raised here, or had one American parent and one Mexican parent, and then they were raised here, or were even more complicated and had a German mom and a Mexican dad, or an Italian mom and an Italian mom and a French dad, and they were Mexican. Most of my friends who grew up in this really tight-knit community kind of agreed with me where they didn't really fit in either here nor there. They agreed that they were Mexican, however, when they're in Mexico and with Mexicans, we always seem to feel left out. And then we go to the States thinking that, oh, okay, if I don't fit in here, I'm going to fit over there. And then I'm in the States and I'm like, wow, I don't fit in here either. So one quote I read that I thought was really important and actually very rang true, and I found it online, I'm not sure where, is raised in two cultures but uncomfortable in both. I agree with this, but I also want to say raised in two cultures and comfortable in both cultures, and I can seamlessly go into the US, appear American, talk American, walk, dress as an American, and no one would ever know the difference. Now, because I don't look terribly Mexican, I don't always get to seamlessly move through Mexicans, but once I get to talk their lingo and start walking and know about the culture and we discuss, then I also get by as a Mexican too. So, and I've had different instances where I feel like there's a very weird underlying racism going on because of my heritage or because of where I am and how I was raised. Sometimes I get into a taxi here and I like to call it me ven cara de gringa, as to say they look at me and think gringa because I have whiter and have green eyes and blondish hair. And then they like to categorize me as a gringa, and instead of charging me 40 pesos for the taxi ride, they want to charge me 140 pesos. I've also been to the artisans market and have the artisans, charge the Mexican 20 pesos, and then they want to charge me 180 just because I look white. I've also had it completely the other way around with Americans who judge me for being Mexican and say things like, oh, you wouldn't understand because you're Mexican. Or, oh, you know, in the US we believe doing this. I kind of just want to slap them in the face and be like, yeah, I know, I'm American. Now, in some circumstances, it's not always bad. When I backpacked across Europe, there were certain countries that wasn't very fond of Americans, and so I pulled out my Mexican passport and hola. There was other countries that required a visa for a Mexican to be in, and so I pulled out my American passport and said, hi. So it really depends on how you play with it. Definitely when I was a kid, I feel like there was a lot more prejudice and a lot more people being confused or thought I wasn't as smart or couldn't explain myself properly because I was bilingual. Now that I've gotten older, people are like, oh my god, I would kill to be bilingual, or oh, you have no idea how many jobs you will be able to get by being bilingual. And all of a sudden it became a hip new thing. Whereas most of my friends, because I find myself actually gravitating around people who either have been exposed at a really early age to gravitating around people who've either been exposed at a really early age in their developmental years to a different culture, or people from a different culture. So for example, my European friends, some of them speak 6 languages, and being bilingual is so yesterday. We're having less and less of a monocultural world and having more of a bicultural kids. So around the age of 21, I want to say, someone, I'm pretty sure it was my mother, gave me a book called Cross-Cultural Kids, which if I find it, I'll link it in the description box below. And it was about President Obama being a cross-cultural kid. A TCK, as they like to call the cool kids. And I picked up a little excerpts from it that I thought was very important that I wanted to read to you guys about. A cross-cultural kid, let's talk about what it means. A CCK is a person who has lived in or meaningful interacted with 2 or more cultural environments for a significant period of time during their developmental years. So for example, in my case, even though I was here in Mexico, I was exposed for a meaningful interaction to a different culture, which is the US. And for example, my husband, who was going to boarding school in upstate New York, spent all of his summers and Christmases here in Mexico. And even though his parents did not speak Spanish, he was still exposed to a different culture. So I just wanted to look over some things. Traditional TCKs, traditional third cultural kids, are children who moved into another culture with parents due to a career choice, such as army brats or people who work for corporations and whatnot. Bi are multicultural and bi-multiracial children, children born to parents from at least 2 cultures or races. Children of immigrants, children whose parents have made a permanent move to a new country where they're not originally citizens, which I feel like is pretty much everyone in America. Children of refugees, children whose parents are living outside their original country or place due to unchosen circumstances such as war, violence, famine, and other natural disasters. For example, all these kids who are coming out from Syria, they will automatically become third cultural kids because they no longer can reside there. Children of minorities, children whose parents are from racial or ethnic groups which is not part of the majority race or ethnicity of the country in which they live. International adoptees, children who are adopted by parents from another country other than the one of the child's birth. And domestic third culture kids, children whose parents have moved in or among various subcultures within the child's home country. So I often find that a lot of people are in one of these circles, if not a lot at the same time, depending on who the kid is and what their background story is. And I feel like a lot of people automatically want to put them into these categories in order to know how to act with them. Another little side note here on third culture kids is as people travel more and more, as internet becomes bigger and bigger, and trade is being globalized, there are few truly monocultural societies and diversity is everywhere, which I find particularly true in the US. And I also wanted to point out that there's different sections of what I consider a different foreigner to be. There's a foreigner who look different and think different. There's a hidden immigrant that looks alike but thinks different. There's adopted who look different but think alike. There's a mirror, a look alike and think alike, but they're not actually what you think they're mirroring. I just think it's such an important topic, and I've been asked several different weird things like, what language do I dream in? I actually don't know. You and I could be having a conversation in English right now, and right next to us there could be people speaking Spanish, and I can't hear the difference. It's not until someone says something that's either culturally or slang or swearing that then I go, that person's speaking Spanish. Or, oh, that person is speaking English. Now, a lot of the times, most of my Mexican friends identify me as a gringa, which, if you guys don't know of that word, it comes from when the US and Mexico were fighting over the land that was Texas and Colorado and parts of California. And the Mexicans encountered the Americans wearing green uniforms as the military. And they would say, green, go. So as the years went by, in I think it was probably the 40s and the 50s, the terminology green go was actually known as something derogatory and mean. Here in San Miguel de Allende, where we have such a big expat community, gringo has become something endearing and something that people have embraced. So for a while there, and I was trying to promote something called Mexigringos, Mexicans raised as gringos, or Mexicans with gringo parents, or Mexicans who interlaced with gringos. Now, I don't know if this is going to become a thing. If you're someone like me or my friends or the community that I grew up in, how do you feel about being categorized or naming our certain society? The word Pocho and Chicano, for example, the people came up with that own name because they wanted to find a way to be identified and identify other people with this same situation, here say. A couple of my friends, if you ask, for example, if you ask my sister, who's only 2 years apart from me, if you ask her if she's Mexican or American, she will tell you she's 100% Mexican. Even though her mom is American and she has dual citizenship, she identifies as being a Mexican. Me, on the other hand, I don't. I feel like I have one foot in America and one in Mexico, and I'm constantly trying to figure out which one I belong to, and to be perfectly honest, I belong to both. And if I had another parent that was from somewhere else, for example, if my dad was French, I feel like I could totally, be relating to that culture as well, even though I have never lived there, but there's still something that was brought and raised into my life. I think it's really important to not make conclusions and not jump to different racist remarks or trying to categorize people. I'm a global citizen. I'm a new wave, I guess, of these kids. I mean, there's more and more people here in San Miguel who are bringing their kids from the States, American born, to come have a different cultural experience, because you grow and you learn so much by being exposed to a different culture. Something that I battle with a lot is like my ethics and my morals, how I've chosen what I wanted from each culture and each country and kind of suited it to my own self. So some of my ethics and morals are very American, and some of my ethics and morals are very Mexican. And I kind of take what I identify with the most depending on my experiences. And I think it's such I mean, what are you guys? Do you guys identify with the country that you were born in? Were you born in a different country and then came to the US later? Tell me what you guys think. Where are you guys from? Do you guys get categorized based on the way you look? Do you guys find yourself moving seamlessly into two different cultures and not really belonging to either of them? I'm sure I'm not the only one who constantly is battling with trying to always fit in. I know this was kind of rambly and I went on, but tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you guys also are able to jump in and out of different cultures with your 2 or maybe 3 different passports and what that's like. Leave a comment in the section below. Tell me if you agree with the terminology third culture kid, and would you categorize yourself in this actual category? And what do you think about Mexi-Gringos? I'm sure there's a lot more out there than just my community here in San Miguel de Allende. And I feel like every day I see more and more Americans or biracial or bicultural parents bringing their kids to live in a foreign country. Alright guys, I think that's it for today. That's me, Rambly Babbly, so let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next week.